This episode is brought to you by HighSpots.com. HighSpots.com is the leading provider of professional wrestling and mixed martial arts merchandise. From wrestling boots to wrestling DVDs, wrestling action figures to title belts, HighSpots.com has the largest selection of wrestling merchandise. Go there right now with our link, tinyurl.com/STS HighSpots. STSHIGHSPOTS. Shop there with that link. It won't cost you any extra, but it will help support this podcast.
13, that's right, 13. Special edition of Shooting the Shiznit with a cool kids countdown as we talk about the highest paid, the top 10 best paid wrestlers for 2016. Here's a clip, download, and listen.
You're talking, Shane O'Mac, Jersey.
Here comes the money.
And here comes the money, yeah, whatever. All that, he's listed, as the lowest paying of the whole family anyway when it comes to the big group and everything. But $2.2 million, he got $2.2 million for one match last year. Plus, he did. I guess what we did. He did have a role after WrestleMania, but $2.2 million. He's a McMahon. I don't have real hard problem. I've never had a real hard problem with anyone making a lot of money, especially in the wrestling business because of the travel and what it does on your body. But that, the stunt that he did for WrestleMania that was part of this payday, you could have probably gave me $1 million to do it too. Okay, I would have done it for $100,000. But what do you think? What do you think? $25, yeah.
I'm a Shane McMahon mark, so I'm going to say I'm perfectly fine with him making the 2.2. And you will be corrected, sir. He did 2 matches last year. He did Survivor Series, where he got knocked out by Roman Reigns. So it was 2 matches. And the 2.2, I'm going to say that at least the 0.2 had to be earned by diving off the top of the cage onto Taker on the table. So that was well worth it right there alone, just on the one match that he did. The one thing with Shane, like you referenced, he's kind of the black sheep of the McMahon family for some reason, although he's the...
Hey, welcome everyone to episode 83, live from St. Louis, STS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. That's right. How's everyone doing this week? I want to say thank you to everyone that's been downloading tons of stuff going on social media, and we haven't had those, no offense to all the guests, I call them our homegrown guests in the sense that you are listening to us, the product that we're putting out, and you're not just coming to the podcast to listen to a quote-unquote superstar. So thank you very much. No offense, Alan Steele and Jeff Singer. I'm just excited to see everyone coming out to listen to the podcast for what we do. A big thank you out to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestling's Between the Sheets. Locals to Legends, that's old Gene Jackson over there. Thank you, Gene. I do appreciate it. If you want to get a hold of us, you need to do is at Comic Book Mark BT, that's where I'm at, or BT Shooting the Shiznit on Instagram. That first one was Twitter. You can also send us a donation at Brian_Tramel, TRAMEL, at yahoo.com. That's right. We also have merch. We have the I'm a Shiznitter shirt. That's right. I'm a Shiznitter shirt. tinyurl.com/STS pod merch. That's tinyurl.com/STS pod merch. We also have all the archives at www.stspod.club. We have the Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk Facebook group. That's right. Ask to join. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out. You also get all the episodes on the Shooting the Shiznit Facebook group. Just the Shooting the Shiznit Facebook group. A big shout out to our sponsor. That's right. CamSoda.com. Thank you guys for sponsoring us. I want everyone to go to CamSoda.com and check that out. We also have Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast, P3 Radio, my buddy Max, who does the commercials here. Y'all go listen to all those podcasts. They're part of our family. That's right. And a big shout out to my buddy Nate over there at Wide Men Can't Jump. Now, are we ready for the show? Let's get it on. to Shiznit here, and I've got on the line, or as I always pretend, I've got him over there in the green room. He's eating milk and cookies. Come on over, Sean. This is Sean Garmer. Welcome to Shooting the Shiznit.
Oh, glad to be here, and thank you for the refreshments. That's pretty good stuff.
Well, Sean, the listeners hear your name almost every episode. I usually give the big shout out to your website and everything, and I thought this would be the perfect time to bring you on because you kind of do this, the news, and you'll do podcasts and the website, and I don't do that a lot. We do different things, and this being the 25th anniversary, this was a perfect night to do it. But first of all, before we start talking about that, there's a couple of things I want you to give everyone your website. Well, first, when did we start the website? How long have you been doing this?
The website's been around for about a year and a half, since like September 2016. And I mean, I've been writing for 411 Mania for like about 11, 12 years as well. So I've been doing this whole writing thing for a while.
And the thing about it is, you say 11 to 12 years, Sean. You're young compared to everyone we have on the show almost. So when did you said you've been doing this 11, 12 years, so you've been a fan forever. So when did you start? I mean, what year can you remember first starting to watch wrestling?
Like the thing was, when I was a kid, it was sort of like not something that my family did. So I watched it here and there. Like I remember the first match I saw had Hulk Hogan in it. And I kind of had to watch sometimes because, it was sort of like one of those, if I catch you watching it, you're going to get in trouble. So I had to act like I was watching some sports game or something, which I do watch, a lot of sports too. But I had to act like I was watching Monday Night Football or whatever and go watch the whatever wrestling was on at the time. But mostly I watched starting from like 98 on full time.
So yeah, that puts me about 20 years older than you, or older in wrestling years, put it that way. Now you've been doing this website, and I always like asking the person, you've been doing a website that's just like all the other current websites in the sense that, kayfabe's dead and we don't pretend anymore. But you do, at what point did you decide, or did you know that wrestling was a work?
I learned pretty quick because, like I said, family was not a big fan of it.
Right.
And my dad, he's a doctor. He's Mr. High class or whatever. So what's funny is he's from the South. Half my family's from Arkansas and everything. And he, once you get in that life, it's a whole different life that you live. And so he's sitting there going, "Oh, that's not wrestling. The wrestling that I watch, Honor the Giant and Hulk Hogan, that stuff was real. The stuff you watch now is fake or whatever." And so he'd sit there and go, "I bet you this guy's going to win or whatever." Like our favorite guy at the time was The Rock. And he's like, "I bet you The Rock's going to win like every match for like, a month straight." He did, and he's like, and it didn't bother me. It bothered me some that like I figured out it was fake, but it wasn't one of those where it was like, "Oh, I'm done watching now because it is." It just kind of helped me learn my love of seeing it another way.
Right. I think that's what happened to a lot of us. And I've told this story a couple of times, but the first time I went, how I got the wrestling bug is I went live at a spot show, and I sat maybe, I don't know, 10 feet from the ring, not very far from the ring. The seats were real close. And at no time don't get me wrong, 1978, I was 12 years old, and I was a huge mark probably up until, just not really believing, but not knowing how it was done. That was the main thing. I knew the fix was on, just put it that way, but I didn't know actually how it was done until, I guess 84, 85, someone started sending me newsletters, and then boom, the next thing. But you were in a different era where, the all the newsletters and the websites, and Vince had pretty much told everyone that it was a work, which is pretty neat because you're in a different era than a lot of my guests or a lot of people that's on this show. But we got this website, and you don't just do wrestling on the website. Give the website, tell people how they can get to the website, give your Twitter, do all that, because sometimes I forget to do that, and tell them all the things that's on the website. You don't just do wrestling.
Right. It's W2Mnet.com, which is basically short for W2M Network, which is basically why the site exists, because we have a whole network, which obviously very grateful that you are a part of it. That's all a stand-in for our wrestling podcast that we've done for 5 years, that like Mr. Shamel here talks about, that we cover the news. We've also split it off into where my buddies, Gary Vaughn and Paul Leeser, that do the show. We do the show twice a week. They do, the Raw review, the NXT review. We have other guys that do SmackDown and 205. And so we have our whole thing just for that podcast. And then we have other, wrestling podcasts, not just yours. Game stuff. Video games is probably the other big thing that's part of the site, because it's what I've been writing about for about as long as wrestling. So I'm actually a credentialed media person for video games. So that's another reason why it's a big part of that site. We have great entertainment podcasts. These guys do movie reviews, music stuff. I mean, they're really good at that. And we have a great MMA podcast. He gets interviews with MMA. He just did an interview with Josh Emmett. Last week. So I think it's really cool how the thing's been able to grow. And, I'm sure that there's zillions of places out there, zillions of websites out there that are a lot bigger than ours. But I just like that we have this sort of like tight-knit community of writers and friends, and we can all get along and, make things happen when we need to.
Yeah. And, I've been doing fandom for years, and I did a newsletter, did website, and then back doing I did a podcast that came back, and it's you to find a niche or find someone that's gonna help you do it. Lance is my cohort on that, but it's tough to get people to, like you said, not fighting amongst. I've had some of the biggest podcast episodes have been about, people in podcasts fighting. So, all right. So we're going to talk about WWE, the 25th anniversary, but one other thing right before we go into it, and since you do news on your site, I think this is, and we don't usually do this stuff here, but there was a story that broke a couple of hours right before Raw went on the air. And I say it was a huge story, and we've covered the Elgin controversy here on a couple of shows and talked about it, kind of joked here and there about it, but we also said, when's the hammer going to come down on other people? We got Enzo accused of sexual harassment or assault or whatever he's going to be accused of, and they suspended him right off. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, WWE's doing basically what they're saying, right? They're zero tolerance, so you have to do this. It's pretty much what everybody does. Look, that movement is out there. If you watch the Screen Actors Guild Awards, they made a big deal about it again. I think every awards show that they have now, that's going to be a big deal. And, I get it. It's something that needs to be out there and said. The way this all went down, the story, it almost seems worse than the Elgin thing, because this is, if this really happened, because the thing is that it seems like there's a lot of loose there.
Yes.
Yeah, allegedly. Exactly. And, she doesn't have a great history herself. So this is one of those that a lot of stuff's going to have to come out, and people are going to have to talk besides her and be able to corroborate or otherwise refute the story, I think. But it's not a good look for Enzo, who already has problems with WWE as it is.
Yeah, I mean, we get all these. Enzo as a babyface was huge over in NXT, and I actually loved when they came out. I got tired of hearing the whole stuff right before every match, but then we started hearing things about Enzo, about the way he flaunted his money, and that he was just. I mean, it came off as if he was. I don't know what to say, prima donna to a certain extent, and then, just because he was on WWE TV, he was a superstar, and then we get this girl alleges that she's been gone from Twitter because of mental problems due to two friends of hers, and she was smoking pot, and I believe she said meth and cocaine both, and so she was left in the hotel room with allegedly Enzo. And there's all kinds of stuff on Twitter where it tells exactly what Enzo supposedly said to her. Also, things where she gives some text messages where she was texting her friends that left her there. These things, I don't think this will be the last one this year, especially with everything, like you said, going on in Hollywood. I think there's going to be a lot of people speaking up. I've heard a couple more stories. We had, what was the guy's name recently? Brad Stutz. Am I pronouncing his name? You know who I'm talking about? Yeah. With Mid-Atlantic, who had some stuff going on there. So we got three, little controversies going on right now, and so I think by the end of the year we may be able to do a top 10 list. I hope not, but we might be able to do a Cool Kids Countdown on the controversies. But I thought it was a big deal. I think the wrestling culture that I grew up around, going to matches with some of the guys in the business, I don't think I ever witnessed anything, anything when it came to underage women, anything like that, or underage girls, whatever what you want to say. I did witness, rats. There has been many rats and stuff like that, but all the people that I know of was of age, and there was always consent there. So, all right, let's leave Enzo, because we're going to use up all our time here. I try to go, at least under 40 minutes, try 30, but let's start with the opening of Raw. They showed all the big moments, which I thought was pretty good, and then we got all the McMahons out there. And, we got you gave me a plaque, which I thought was hilarious. And then we get Stone Cold, who the only disappointment with the Stone Cold segment was he didn't talk. But, man, I think maybe he had the biggest pop due to the crowd that was there at that instead of the Manhattan Center. So what'd you think about the first segment?
This was probably the best segment of the entire show, just because it was very, okay, we're definitely going back into, Attitude Era Raw here with Vince. Seems like it's going to be all about celebrating, and then he gets hot on the crowd and starts going in on them and gets angry about a plaque, which was, like you said, was great. And, it just keeps going, and you're like, okay, this segment cannot end without Stone Cold coming out here. And here he comes. The crowd is just going crazy. You're watching this on we're watching this on TV. I don't think I could hear anything but the crowd cheering. That's how loud this was. And then I figured this is what we're going to get. I was also disappointed very much that he did not talk, because he's one of the greatest ever at that. And just I think getting to do the what stuff with him, even if it's played out at this point.
Yeah, I told
fun.
my wife about that. I said, that's Stone Cold's fault that the crowds do that. And she was sitting there watching the first part of it. She was able to hear that. But I'm with you. Disappointment. That was the only disappointment I had of that segment. It was what I wanted to see, and I popped for it as a fan. It was fun, and it was exactly what it should have been. We're right there near that 15-minute mark. Good stopping point here. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to be right back with Sean Garmer. Is that right? Sean Garmer. I'm sorry, Sean.
Why are viewed using any other cam site. Cam Soda is the most advanced social cam network on the internet, featuring the hottest girls. For a limited time, every new member will get 50 free tokens on us. That's right. For a limited time, every new member will get 50 free tokens on us. Join now. Go to camsoda.com or follow us on Twitter at CamSodaLive. Now, back to the podcast.
All right, Sean, you still with us?
I'm still here.
All right, good deal. I just making sure there. I've been using some new software for the last 2 or 3 episodes. Has really improved the sound, but I still don't know exactly what I'm doing here. I thought the segment. Now, after that, we had the girls' match. I don't know if you noticed this. I felt like I was maybe not the only one, but I felt like I was in the Cool Kids group there. The girls worked heat constantly on Banks. We didn't get a hot tag. Something happened there. Either someone told them to go home or something, because this is the WWE, and they do hot tags, especially with Banks. She got tons of heat on her. No hot tag, but she got to finish the match and got the win. But that just seemed a little odd there.
Oh, the first segment ran long. It probably ran about like 2 or 3, 4 minutes long, and so they had to cut 2 commercials during this match, which absolutely killed the match. Nothing really – I felt like really nothing happened. And then, like you said, no hot tag, because it goes commercial, stuff happens, commercial again, come back, Sasha Banks is doing the Banks tape, and it's over.
Yeah,
it's like,
she got,
okay.
The only thing happened was Banks got an ass whipping. That was the only thing right there. So
exactly.
But yeah, I was surprised. I was like, wow, something's messed up here. A backstage segment was next. We had Brother Love and a ton of people. My friend Downtown Bruno, my old friend Downtown Bruno was there, and hopefully we're going to have him on the show to talk about. I guess he was Harvey Whippleman. A Brother Love who, you had to hate him as a heel. Bruce Pritchard, who's huge into podcasting now. I didn't think the segment was that good. The APA stuff, to me, was... all of that stuff was kind of really bad until they led up to the match, and I'm still not a fan of why they put that match on. But I wasn't big into that. It was fun to see some of the old guys like MVP, and DiBiase came in with the $1 million belt.
Yeah, I thought that stuff was okay. I think DiBiase coming in was one of the highlights, because then it kind of just became, all right, we're around, and then how they set up the match, you could kind of see that coming. I did laugh at the Heath Slater being bad at poker and being happy about a pair of threes, and then getting to say his line about, hey, I got kids, and he's like, well, your kids got to know your daddy's broke now.
Yeah, I mean, it was. It really reminded you of some of those old segments, and I know that's what it was. But some of those were really bad back in the day too. We remember stuff a little bit better than it was. Next, we had Miz against Reigns.
I will say, I gotta say that because of his podcast, right? Bruce Pritchard having the huge podcast, that's got to be one of the loudest pods Brother Love's ever had.
Yeah,
for him being there.
Well, you're looking, we had Conrad Thompson on here, and Conrad gave us the numbers. If I can remember right, we're talking almost 1 million downloads on some of those episodes. So that shows you the popularity, and they're drawing houses, sometimes bigger than, what TNA and some of these indies are just going to talk to the fans. So next we had Miz and Reigns. Damn good match, I thought. Didn't surprise me for the finish. Didn't surprise me at all. What'd you think of the match?
This is the best match on the show. These two work really well together. I love they figured out how to make this work with Roman being a guy the crowd doesn't really like, but he's got his fans, just like Cena. And anybody that you put Roman against, they're going to cheer. And they did it perfectly with Miz, where you did the false finish, and he gets the 2, and then later you use Bo and Curtis Axel and use that great the Yano finish from New Japan where you pull the buckle, and he gets him with the finale again. just good and great for Miz to get one closer on Jericho.
Yeah, and I didn't see him when he actually did it the first time. So I don't know if they showed it on the video, but they did on the replay. I was surprised with no turnbuckle boom. I seen the finish coming at that point, but thought it was a damn good match. And like you said, they do work well together. Christian, I think he was, I think it was just, he could have been used a little better than he was. The segment wasn't that good, and I hate it that they can't have someone like that and use them better.
Yeah, I felt like he was just really extra in the segment. I mean, it also doesn't help at all that obviously WWE is not intending for Jason Jordan to get booed out of the building like he does. So, I
love Jordan, by the way, just so everyone knows. I love Jason Jordan. I think you're right. I don't think they anticipated this, but I think that they're going with it, and it comes off as if the fans just hate this guy. And that stuff with him and the Shield, with him and Reigns and Rollins last week, I believe it was just really good. And then we went to the Manhattan Center. The crowd was completely dead. We had Matt against Bray. Something else that I didn't know until I went to Twitter, and you probably noticed this on Twitter, they were having matches at the Manhattan Center while they were having matches at Raw.
Yeah, they had 2 cruiserweight matches last about 5 minutes, and the crowd booed the heck out of the tag match. They wanted something else. They were chanting for refunds and other things that probably don't want said on here, so...
No, you say anything you want to here. We're an adult
no, I'm
podcast.
just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying. Like they were, and I think they probably were justified in thinking, look, we paid thousands of dollars to be at this show, and we're getting, 205 live matches that aren't even going, 5 minutes each, and we're sitting here watching Raw on screens. So.
I know I had the 205 Live guys, a couple of them posted on Twitter, and you could tell they were just they were fired up to work that old arena and everything. Then we went, Matt against Bray. Clean finish, middle in the ring. Most of what the fuck was what we heard in the Cool Kids group. And then, we was reminded they like to do the 50-50. That's what Lance said, which is true. But that really came out of nowhere for me. I mean, and the crowd was dead except for saying delete.
Right. It's Hardy and Bray. They've been in a bad mood the whole time. They're probably trying to express that they feel like this is kind of not a big deal that they're getting here.
Right, and it didn't feel like a big deal. Unfortunately, we're probably going to go down by saying TNA did a better job with that stuff than they have, with Matt and people.
I think it just needs time. You don't have Jeff. And I think until he's able to bring in, Reby and Senior Benjamin and Maxwell and Vanguard in slowly, then they'll start to get it. But, also Bray is like the feud killer. You have a feud with Bray, pretty much people stop caring. It's sad to say, but people
it
stop
is sad to say because Bray was so hot for so long. They still do the cigarette lighters or whatever. The phones now. I'm sorry that dated me. He God, a huge Bray fan overall. I would say I was a Bray fan, but really they have killed him. Next, we had a short Elias Jericho segment before Elias was going to the ring. Excellent. I want to admit something, and this is horrible, but because I'm supposed to be, following wrestling and everything, but I've been fast-forwarding Elias for a long time and really not watching the segments. But this guy, I've got to believe what other people are saying now. He's got it. We're going to see more of him and see what they can do with him. I thought the Jericho segment was perfect. Jericho wearing the pro wrestling T-shirt that I actually got one this weekend. I thought that was hilarious, and I think Stone Cold's shirt was a pro wrestling T-shirt. And so that was just one of those no-nos that you never would have seen that 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's weird thinking that how WWE is about New Japan sometimes. Sometimes they're totally cool with them, and sometimes it's like you can't talk about them at all. So getting to see that Alpha Club shirt, I think certainly popped a lot of people. And yeah, I mean, having the two Rock stars going into each other is pretty neat on that end. And I got to say, Elias in NXT, he deserved all the hate, whatever, but this is a gimmick that's made for Vince, and he's made it into something, and Elias has shown through all that, and he's really just become something you want to watch now. I mean, the crowd doesn't chant with him for nothing.
No, you're right. I mean, I was just shocked. The crowd was really into him. Thought the segment with Cena was awesome. It was exactly what they should have done with it to get Elias over more. Elias, that gimmick, the singing cowboy gimmick, I've seen it twice when I used to watch Memphis wrestling back in the day with Billy Travis and Don Bass. And it's one of those things that, and Jarrett carried the guitar, but Geek-tar, did you hear me say that? That shows my Tennessee and Missouri and Arkansas upbringing. But, that's a gimmick that for some reason, you'll get the fans are laughing at him, but Elias is a big enough guy that they're going to take him seriously, especially if Cena gives him anything in a match, Then we had the tag team match we talked about earlier that led to that tag team match, which just set up for, and it was funny in the Cool Kids group. One of the guys, Joe Feeney Sr., actually said they're probably fixing to bring the Dudleys out. And boom, the music started and the Dudleys came out and did everything. And I think the stuff I'm still not a huge Slater and Rhino fan, but I can take that bit of comedy. I think it was funny that Rhino was pushing him in to trying to tough him up. So yeah, he got, and they said something about changing it from what's up to dilly dilly. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah. Sorry. Corey Graves is great and stuff like that. And
I agree 100%.
He was like, let's just what's up is like so 90s. Let's get it relevant. And dilly dilly, it's like that's just perfect. It's great.
And then we had a segment with AJ, which he brought Mean Gene. I thought that was excellent. It was fun. The only thing that was really, he is 75 years old, but I kept saying, damn, he looks fucking old. Mean Gene has aged, folks. If you haven't seen this interview, it'd be something to go out and see.
Yeah, he makes a little nod to the Hulkster in there, and Mean Gene looks like he's just like, oh God, really? You gonna do this to me again? And like, just I thought they had some fun in there, and AJ's trying to get that Cammy thing over for Zayn and Owens. I don't know if it will, but you can keep trying, AJ. I really feel like, AJ's great, and he's one of the best wrestlers out there, but I feel like his time in WWE has made his promos so much more better. And he's improved light years than what he was before.
You know what? If you go, here's the thing. He has improved. It may have something to do with I remember Ambrose having an interview where he said he had direction now on his promos, and he got better because he had direction. That made some of that TNA stuff. AJ had a couple really classic interviews there, but you're right. He looks more comfortable. He's having a better time, and AJ, to me is the man when it comes to who's the best. And Okada, AJ, Omega. That's just one of those three guys I could watch every day. So all right, so let's get through. We ain't got a lot of time left. We went back to the Manhattan Center. We brought out all the DX, and we brought out Scott Hall and went to a fucking commercial. Everybody was like, what the hell? So, Scott Hall comes out. Hey, I'm stealing this line, by the way. Hey, yo, it's a commercial. So he comes out. Then we had the Balor Club, which I think was really a big, big push for them. The crowd wasn't giving them what they should. I wanted to kick the crowd because they've been sitting on their hands. You know, they've been sitting there forever. But then they all did. Now, I'm not sure exactly if I'm right on this, and you can correct me, but it sounded like at one time they were chanting Young Bucks. Were they chanting Young Bucks Too Sweet?
They were chanting Young Bucks Too Sweet, and then they went to Whoop Whoop Too Sweet or whatever after that. I think after they realized, oh, it's the wrong show. And, you know.
Still the wrong show.
Right.
And the crowd didn't give. To me, it was not a reaction. And then, you know, with and they just totally shit on Revival. I put as a note, good God, you know, every move in the book. The match lasted.
Take that shovel out there.
Right. 10 seconds. Someone wrote in a group, whose cat box did they piss in, you know? So we'll see what happens there, whether it's one of those 50-50 things or it's just something the Revival said, hey, throw me in there. It'd be fun to do. Because, you know, those guys are students of the game. They probably just had a fun time with it.
It is sad to see Triple H killing some of his own kids, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think, you know, same thing. You push Jinder Mahal and you go over in India and he wins, you know.
Right.
We could spend a whole extra 20 minutes on that one. But, everything goes out and then we go back, to Barclays Center and we have Lesnar, you know, come out. We got Strowman, Kane. And I mean, Lesnar has really, man, he has just taken a freaking beat. And not once, twice, it's almost 3 or 4 times. It's like Strowman, you know, is the guy that they're building it as if Strowman's going to be the guy that beats him as the next champ.
I mean, he should be. They have a very organic guy that is over right now in Braun Strowman. You had a shot before when, you know, the idea was not have been too early. This is the perfect time to have Braun beat him. He's not going to get any more over than he is right now. I think people love Brock, but they're starting to get to that point where it's kind of like, all right, he's cool. We see him. He's gone. He leaves. To be fair, he's been on like almost every Raw since, you know, 2018 started. But I just feel like this is the time. It could still be Roman and Brock at WrestleMania, and that's what they want to do. That's cool. I don't think it even has to really be for the title, but it's up to them on that point.
I'm with you. I would put, you know, I don't really know what they're planning to do, but Strowman right now is freaking over. You know, he does that. The whole crowd does it, and that's what you want in someone that's over. And I seen some T-shirts. He's selling T-shirts, and he's over with the crowd when they make noise like that. Hey, I want to thank our guest, Sean Garmer. Thanks for coming on, man. We'll have you some other time when we have something big wrestling. This is a perfect way to fill a show up, just to sit down and talk about something that just happened. I want to thank you, the listener, for actually listening in and downloading us. Thanks to our sponsor, CamSoda.com. Join us next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there. Love my mama.